years, it was one of hip-hop's biggest, most public beefs. One guy seen as the relentless troll, the other the untouchable, celebrated mogul. But what if we had it all wrong? What if the guy everyone called a bully was actually trying to warn us the entire time?
So let's just start with the man himself. That quote, "Man, it hits different now, doesn't it?" For so long, every time 50 Cent took a shot at Diddy, we all kind of just rolled our eyes. It was just 50 being 50. But now, in the wake of everything, the arrest, the shocking allegations, all those old words, they don't sound so crazy anymore. And that really is the central question here, isn't it? Was this all just a typical rap rivalry, or was one of hip-hop's biggest trolls actually the only one brave enough to speak a really uncomfortable truth out loud? Okay, so to get what's happening, you have to start with the absolutely stunning collapse of Sean Combs' entire empire. This isn't just about rumors anymore. We're talking about federal raids, arrests, and a legal firestorm that has sent massive shockwaves through the whole industry.
And you know, the public was instantly hooked. That documentary, which, by the way, was executive produced by 50 Cent, it shot straight to #1 on Netflix. It just proves how hungry people were for some real answers.
You know, the director of the doc made such a crucial point. This whole story is more than just about one guy. It's like a mirror forcing us to look at ourselves, at our celebrity culture and the crazy high pedestals we build, which, it turns out, can hide some really, really dark secrets. And the timeline of his fall, it was just so incredibly fast. It all kicked off in November 2023, when Cassie Ventura filed that bombshell lawsuit. That just opened the floodgates. Less than a year later, he's arrested. And today, he is serving a 4-year prison sentence on prostitution charges, all while still facing a mountain of other civil suits. Just a staggering fall from grace. Okay, so with that downfall established, let's hit rewind. For more than a decade, 50 Cent was making all these comments that at the time just seemed like petty potshots. But now, well, now they look a whole lot like a trail of breadcrumbs. And this is one of the most famous examples. 50 has told this story for years, this super weird, uncomfortable offer Diddy made to him at a wedding. Back then, it was just a funny story, right? But in hindsight, it's not so funny. It feels like one of the first pieces of a much larger and much stranger puzzle that 50 was trying to show us. And this chart really gets to the core of it. The public just saw a simple rap beef, but according to 50, Diddy was behind the scenes sabotaging careers and acting erratically. So while the world was labeling 50 Cent a hater and a bully, he believed he was just exposing what was really going on. A total disconnect. Which leads to this huge question, right? How did one man build such a powerful, protected public image, while the other guy, the one pointing out all the cracks, was so easily written off as the bad guy? But here's where the whole story gets even more interesting. Because while 50 was being called a bully in public, he was privately playing this completely different role, trying to guide a new generation of artists and steer them away from the industry's biggest dangers. I mean, just take the tragic story of Pop Smoke. 50 really saw himself in the kid. He took him under his wing and wasn't just praising his music, he was actively giving him advice, telling him to be careful about the people he surrounded himself with, a warning that became devastatingly real. And then you've got Tekashi 6ix9ine. Publicly, 50 was joking around, calling him his son, but behind the scenes, he was telling him, look, this gangster act is a dangerous game, and it's going to end badly. He basically predicted his entire legal collapse long before it happened. And look, this wasn't a one-off thing. With Fetty Wap, Chief Keef, DaBaby, a clear pattern starts to emerge. While the world saw a bully, these artists often saw a mentor, trying to help them survive an industry full of traps. Which brings us right back to that documentary, the one that tied this whole story together. The Reckoning wasn't just a recap. It dropped brand new, explosive claims and sparked a furious legal battle to keep it off the air. And the allegations laid out were just stunning. We're talking about his own co-founder saying Diddy forced him to sign away his share of the company at baseball bat point. Allegations that he profited from the death of Biggie Smalls. And then, the biggest one of all, a taped confession linking him to the murder of Tupac Shakur. It's a truly ruthless picture. So, no surprise, Diddy's legal team went into full attack mode. They sent cease and desist letters, called it a shameful hit piece, and basically blamed the whole thing on 50 Cent's vicious animus. They even claimed Netflix was using illegal, stolen footage. But Netflix didn't back down. They stood their ground on every point. They said 50 had zero creative control, that nobody was paid to participate, and that all the footage was obtained legally. The documentary was released, and the world got to see it all for themselves. And really, when you zoom out, this story is so much bigger than just hip-hop. It offers some powerful and pretty difficult lessons about power, control, and what it actually takes for survivors to finally be heard. You know, experts have a term for this kind of dynamic. It's called coercive control. It's this pattern of behavior that abusers use to instill fear and restrict freedom. It's this web of physical, psychological, and financial control that can make a victim feel completely trapped, even when they're with one of the most famous people on Earth. And what's so striking is that the patterns here are textbook. The perfect public image hiding private harm, the gaslighting and denial used to discredit victims. But maybe the biggest takeaway from all this, as Cassie Venture's story shows, is that one person speaking out, even against an incredibly powerful figure, can be the one thing that brings it all crashing down. And that kind of leaves us with this final, lingering thought. This case has revealed a system that protected a powerful man for decades. And it forces us to ask, what does it really take to finally break through that wall of fame and silence, and for the world to actually listen? So you've probably heard about all the allegations swirling around Sean Diddy Combs, but amidst all that chaos, one person's voice is coming through loud and clear. His mother, Janice Combs. Today, we're going to break down her powerful defense against a really shocking claim, one that hits closer to home than anything else. All right, so let's get right into it. There's this new Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, and it's been making a ton of waves. But there's one claim in particular that really stands out from the rest, mainly because it involves his own mother. So, what exactly is this accusation that's causing such an uproar? Well, it comes from that Netflix docuseries, which, get this, is produced by Diddy's longtime rival, 50 Cent. Yeah. And the claim itself comes from someone who used to be deep inside Diddy's inner circle. The person making this claim is Kirk Burroughs, who was a former friend and colleague of Combs. And the setting for this alleged incident, wow, it's incredibly sensitive. We're talking 1991, right in the middle of the chaotic and tragic aftermath of that City College charity event Diddy promoted, where a stampede actually killed 9 people. Burroughs claims this is what he saw happen. Yeah, as you could imagine, that explosive claim did not go unanswered. Not for a second. Janice Combs fired back, and she did it almost immediately with a really detailed and forceful public statement. She just completely denies it, flat out. In her statement to Deadline, she didn't just say it was false. She went further, condemning the whole docuseries for using the 1991 tragedy, calling it wrong, outrageous, and past offensive. She's basically accusing the filmmakers of exploiting a really painful memory just to get views. So what we're left with here are two completely opposite stories. It's night and day. On one side, you have this really shocking accusation from a former colleague, and on the other, you have a fierce, absolute denial from the one person who would know for sure, Diddy's own mom. This is really the heart of the whole dispute. And you know what? She's not just stopping with a denial. Nope. She's actually going on the offensive here. She's demanding a public retraction from Netflix for what she calls the documentary's distortions, falsehoods, and misleading statements. So this all begs the question, who is the woman at the center of all this? Because to really get why her defense is so fierce, you gotta understand her story. Janice Combs' story is really one of incredible resilience, and it was forged in tragedy. Back in 1972, her husband Melvin was killed. Just like that, she was a single mother in Mount Vernon, New York, left to raise her young son completely on her own. And believe me, it was not easy. She worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, things like a teacher's assistant, a school bus driver, she even modeled on the side, all of it just to provide for him. Her absolute #1 priority was his education, and she made sure to get him into an all-boys Catholic school. And that work ethic definitely didn't go unnoticed by her son. Diddy has said again and again that she's his inspiration. He's even said in interviews that she almost killed herself just to give him opportunities. He says that seeing her juggle multiple jobs is what taught him to be an entrepreneur, to have multiple aspirations himself. Okay, so how does all that history tie into what's happening right now? Well, her recent statement? It's really no surprise at all when you look at her track record. This is just part of a long-established pattern of unwavering public support for her son. I mean, just look at Diddy's recent and very public sex trafficking trial. Janice Combs has been right there, a constant presence in the courtroom. She's consistently shown up with his children, presenting this really united family front. But what's really telling is a statement she made earlier in 2024. See, she doesn't try to paint him as some perfect angel. She actually acknowledges that he's made mistakes and maybe hasn't been entirely truthful. But even while admitting that, her support for him remains absolute, unwavering. So let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? This is more than just another celebrity scandal. When you get right down to it, it's a powerful story about a mother's fierce, unconditional defense of her son. She has absolutely stepped into the role of the family matriarch. She's not some silent supporter just watching from the sidelines. No way. She's on the front lines, and she's directly taking on a massive media giant and her son's accusers, all to protect her family's reputation. And so, ultimately, this whole story with Janice Combs leaves us all with a really compelling question, one that goes way beyond the specific case. When a public figure is basically on trial in the court of public opinion, what is the role of a parent's loyalty? Where's that line between being a supportive parent and public accountability? It's a really complex situation, and honestly, there are no easy answers.
First, let's take a quick look at Sean Combs' early life and his parents' influence before becoming a hip-hop mogul. Sean Combs' life was shaped by tragedy and resilience. His mother, Janice Combs, worked as a model and a teacher's assistant, raising him in Harlem and later Mount Vernon, New York. She instilled discipline and ambition in her son, who attended and graduated from Mount St. Michael Academy, an all-boys Catholic prep school in the Bronx, ensuring he had access to quality education. His father, Melvin Combs, was a U.S. Air Force veteran who later, reportedly working as a driver for Harlem narcotics kingpin Frank Lucas. In 1972, when Sean was just 3 years old, Melvin was eliminated in what was believed to be a narcotic-related execution. For years, Janice told her son that his father had passed in a car accident. It wasn't until Sean attended Howard University that he discovered the truth, finding an article in the library that detailed his father's murder. This revelation fueled Combs' drive to rise above his circumstances. His relentless ambition eventually propelled him into the music industry, where he reshaped hip-hop culture through his Bad Boy Records empire. But now, decades later, his legacy faces scrutiny in a courtroom. Here's a breakdown of how the stage is set as the trial begins. The trial opened with explosive allegations, painting a picture of coercion and abuse within Combs' inner circle. Witnesses described harrowing experiences, with the prosecution strategically building a case that portrays Combs as the orchestrator of a criminal enterprise. One of the most shocking testimonies came from Brianna Bongalan, who claimed that Combs held her over a 17th-story balcony during an altercation. The courtroom fell silent as she recounted the terrifying moment, adding weight to the trafficking allegations. There's a tense courtroom showdown as the trial progressed. Combs himself became visibly frustrated. His reactions to testimonies were scrutinized, and at one point, the judge threatened to remove him from the courtroom for making facial expressions at the jury. This moment underscored the gravity of the case, as legal experts debated whether his behavior could negatively impact his defense. Legal analyst Monique Presley has provided invaluable insights. With years of experience as a trial attorney, Presley has handled complex legal battles and frequently appears on major networks like CNN and MSNBC to break down high-profile cases. Presley explained that the key challenge for Combs' defense team lies in disproving a narrative of coercion and exploitation. The prosecution is working to establish a pattern of abuse, making it difficult for the defense to argue that these incidents were isolated. She also pointed out that Combs' courtroom demeanor could be used against him, as prosecutors may argue that his reactions indicate a lack of remorse. How is the trial reshaping hip-hop beyond the courtroom? The trial is forcing the hip-hop industry to confront uncomfortable truths. For decades, hip-hop has been shaped by figures like Combs, who built empires through music, fashion, and business. However, the allegations against him are prompting discussions about power, accountability, and the culture of excess that has long been associated with the industry. Combs' rise to fame was deeply influenced by his parents' history, particularly the challenges his mother faced raising him alone after losing her husband to violence. His father's past in the narcotics trade and tragic elimination shaped his worldview, fueling his ambition to transcend street life and build a hip-hop dynasty. Now, as his empire faces scrutiny, many are questioning whether the influences of his early life played a role in the allegations against him. Some argue that this trial could mark a turning point, leading to greater scrutiny of industry practices and the behavior of powerful executives. Others fear that it may tarnish hip-hop's reputation, reinforcing negative stereotypes about the genre. Reactions from hip-hop icons. Several major hip-hop artists have weighed in on the trial, offering their perspectives on its implications. Snoop Dogg expressed shock and disappointment, stating that he never expected such allegations against Combs. He emphasized the importance of treating people with respect and ensuring that business relationships are built on trust. Suge Knight, the former Death Row Records executive, commented that Combs should not be the only one held accountable. He argued that the industry as a whole needs to address its toxic culture and ensure that abuse is not tolerated. 50 Cent, known for his outspoken nature, took to social media to criticize Combs, suggesting that the trial exposes deeper issues within the industry. He hinted that more revelations could emerge, further shaking hip-hop's foundations. What's been the public's reaction? Social media has erupted with debates surrounding Combs' fate. Some fans remain loyal, while others demand accountability.